Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, let me tell you about the latest special from Mike Lindell at MyPillow. The standard MyPillow, normally $49.98 for a limited time only, just $14.88 with promo code Joey. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener specials, and see all the specials. There's a limited quantity of just 10 at this special price. That's $14.88 with promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Breaking news, a suspect has been detained in the manhunt for UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson's killer. We have the latest updates for you from Pennsylvania and New York. The Democrats are still making excuses for Kamala Harris's dismal results in the presidential election. This time, former President Bill Clinton says Harris had a hard time as the only person who could access the campaign funds raised by Joe Biden's re-election campaign. We have what Bill Clinton had to say on that. With its not guilty verdict on Monday, a Manhattan jury unanimously sent a resounding message to District Attorney Alvin Bragg that he wrongfully prosecuted a Good Samaritan. But the damage to this young man has already been done. And from the 4th District of South Carolina, Congressman William Timmons joins me for a long overdue Tuesday with Timmons.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
A suspect has been detained on suspicion of the assassination-style murder of UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson. NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch said the suspect was in a McDonald's and was recognized by an employee who then called local police.
Good afternoon, everyone. Earlier this morning in Altoona, Pennsylvania, members of the Altoona Police Department arrested Luigi Mangione, a 26-year-old male, on firearms charges. At this time, he is believed to be our person of interest in the brazen targeted murder of Brian Thompson, CEO of UnitedHealthcare, last Wednesday in Midtown Manhattan. The suspect was in a McDonald's and was recognized by an employee who then called local police. Responding officers questioned the suspect, who was acting suspiciously and was carrying multiple fraudulent IDs as well as a U.S. passport. Upon further investigation, officers recovered a firearm on his person, as well as a suppressor, both consistent with the weapon used in the murder. They also recovered clothing, including a mask consistent with those worn by our wanted individual. Also recovered was a fraudulent New Jersey ID, matching the ID our suspect used to check into his New York City hostel before the shooting incident. Additionally, officers recovered a handwritten document that speaks to both his motivation and mindset.
So just a quick review on what happened. Last Wednesday, December the 4th, Brian Thompson was tragically gunned down outside of a Hilton hotel on 6th Avenue, Manhattan. Security footage captured the moment. A masked assailant approached Thompson from behind, fired multiple shots. The suspect fled the scene, sparking a nationwide manhunt. And after days of searching, police apprehended a 26-year-old identified as Luigi Mangione at a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania. An employee recognized him from wanted posters and alerted the authorities. When police arrived, Mangione was found with several incriminating items. For example, a ghost gun believed to be the murder weapon, potentially made with a 3D printer. A suppressor, and you'll recall that the gun that was used in the execution-style murder had a suppressor on it, and then multiple fake IDs, including a passport and a New Jersey ID that he used to check in to the New York City hostel before the shooting. There's also a handwritten document described as a manifesto expressing ill will towards corporate America. That's all we know about that document right now. Now, while Mangione has no prior arrest history in New York, his background is a little interesting. He's a graduate of the prestigious Gilman School in Baltimore, where he delivered the commencement speech, according to his classmates. A former classmate described him as a smart kid who seemed like he was always doing the right thing. However, the discovery of the manifesto and the apparent premeditation of this crime suggest a deeper, darker young man. Police are currently investigating the contents of the manifesto and comparing Mangioni's DNA to evidence found at the crime scene. Mangioni is currently being held by the Altoona Police Department and is expected to face gun charges there. New York authorities are extraditing him to face charges related to Thompson's murder. Thompson's murder has sent shockwaves, of course, through the corporate world, as many executives reassessing their security measures. Experts predict a surge in demand for executive protection services as a direct result of this incident. And look, if I'm a CEO of a company, and again, when we are able to see the manifesto, we might be able to shed a little more light on this. I've always suspected that it had something to do with some insurance claims, maybe not. Right now, all we know is that the guy didn't like corporations. But like always, when you have something like this, I'm afraid that you can have copycats out there who are thinking the same thing, who doesn't like big corporate America. And it gives them an idea, kind of like school shootings. You have one school shooting, then there's a rash of them. Investigation is ongoing, of course. Police are continuing to search for additional evidence, including in Central Park, where they discovered the backpack initially. The news of Mangioni's arrest has generated a significant amount of public interest, of course. A lot of comments on social media and the news. Some have expressed shock, disbelief, particularly those who knew him in his school days, not believing that this young man, who appeared to have a normal life and had a good attitude, did good in school, never in trouble, and suddenly he's a murderer. Others are grappling with the apparent motive behind the crime, particularly the sentiment expressed in the manifesto of anti-big corporations in America. We will continue to cover this. I can promise you there'll be a lot to cover in the coming weeks. Also, in a major victory for justice and common sense, a Manhattan jury yesterday delivered a not guilty verdict for Marine veteran Daniel Penny, and it was none too soon. The ruling sent a clear message to District Attorney Alvin Bragg. His politically charged prosecution of a Good Samaritan was an egregious overreach that should have never happened. End of sentence, period. Penny was charged for subduing Jordan Neely, a man who terrorized subway passengers with threats of imminent violence. Neely's own menacing actions led to the fatal confrontation. He brought it on himself. Penny did what was necessary to protect innocent riders, and for that, he was vilified by the usual crowd of race-baiting activists who tried to turn this incident into another George Floyd outrage. Bragg, seeing everything through the lens of race and politics, like he always does. That's all Alvin Bragg knows, how to look at things. He pursued charges against Penny while dismissing the accounts of subway riders, some of whom were black, who expressed their gratitude for Penny's actions. His lead prosecutor even referred to Penny at one point during the trial as the white man. The white man. Now, what would a prosecutor who may have said something about the black man during a court proceeding, how would they have been portrayed? Fortunately, though, the 12 jurors saw through the noise. They knew the reality of New York's dangerous subway system, where murders have surged by 60% this year. They knew that Penny wasn't a rogue vigilante. He was a hero who acted to protect lives in danger. And look, if I'm on a subway in New York City, which I am from time to time, I was over the Thanksgiving holiday, I would want Daniel Penny on the subway with me in the event that something goes wrong. Yet Bragg's misguided prosecution have brought long-term consequences to this young hero. Will future Good Samaritans hesitate to intervene when lives are at risk, or will they just ignore it? Fearing that a politically motivated DA might target them, I suggest that's probably going to be the case. I suggest that someone may think twice. They'll remember what Daniel Penny had to do rather than help. The jury's decision is a relief for Penny, of course, but his ordeal isn't over. He now will face a civil lawsuit from Jordan Neely's absentee father A case that, of course, I believe lacks merit, but still you got to go through the process. Alvin Bragg's case lacked merit, but look what that has done to Daniel Penny. And look, here's what you need to understand. The case wasn't just about Daniel Penny. It was about defending the right to protect yourself and others. Bragg may have lost this battle, but his actions have left a mark on New York's sense of justice, and not just New York, around the world. Because, again, it concerns me that the next time someone needs help and people are standing by, there are other Daniel Penny standing by who could help, they may hesitate to do so. And Alvin Bragg may be in that situation himself someday. He may wish that he had a Daniel Penny to help pull some thugs off of him who attack him. You never know. When you have prosecutors like Alvin Bragg who see everything through race, through political retribution, you get these types of cases. They're not fair for anyone. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. If you've been putting off a visit to PhD Weight Loss, now's your time because it comes with an amazing free gift. Joey Hudson here. During December, the founder of PhD Weight Loss, Dr. Ashley Lucas, is giving the first 100 people to sign up for a consultation a free weight loss and energy supplement bundle. What a great gift. Do what I did. Take control now before heading into the indulgent holiday season. Get a grasp and avoid the holiday pounds. I dropped over 30 pounds and I'm not worried about parties and overeating because my PhD coach taught me coping mechanisms to help me enjoy holiday events without gaining the weight. Best of all, I never took a weight loss drug. I'm not dependent on a prescription. And I was never hungry. PhD Weight Loss is not about depriving yourself. Lose the awful belly fat, gain energy, and avoid weight-related health issues. You will feel so amazing about yourself and truly enjoy the holiday season. PhD Weight Loss. Ask about the free gift when you book your consultation. Call 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900 or go to myphdweightloss.com. We haven't done this in a while. On our guest line, Congressman William Timmons for Tuesday with Timmons. Welcome. How are you, sir?
Joey, doing great. Thanks for having me on. Good to be with you.
Always a pleasure. You know, we haven't had a chance to catch up since President Trump's historic win on November the 5th. The American people sent a strong message that they're ready for change, that they want the borders closed, our economy turned around so people can afford to buy groceries, among other things. Do you think the message was heard by your colleagues in Washington?
Absolutely. I mean, while we do have a razor-thin majority in the House and the majority in the Senate and the White House, I mean, you said it best, generational change. This is going to be a once-in-a-generation opportunity to really, really change the course of our country's history and honestly to save the American dream for at least another generation or two. We have just such an incredible opportunity, and I couldn't be more excited to be in the mix and playing my part.
Yeah. Congressman, give us an idea of what you think you guys will tackle first. I mean, how does President Trump close the border, and is it possible to make things affordable again? Are there things that President Trump can do in those first few months with the help of the GOP majority on both in both the House and the Senate to get fuel prices down, for example, to make it less painful to go to the grocery store?
Absolutely. You know, I put this into two buckets. There's the executive, which is secondarily classified into executive orders and then just regulatory changes, and then you have legislative. And then within that, there's two sub-buckets, which is reconciliation and then just legislation. So day one, maybe even in his when he is sworn in, his speech, he's going to close the southern border. He's going to sign executive orders, and that is a huge step in the right direction. After that, on the immigration side, we're going to pass a number of laws, probably using reconciliation, to further fund securing the southern border, not only with building the wall, but also with technology. We can use lights, we can use drones, we can use cameras. All of these things need to be incorporated into securing the southern border. obviously, he's also going to be using tariffs all the time. He's brought Mexico and Canada to task by saying that you have to play your role or you will be victim to tariffs. So his toolbox is vast, and he's going to be using all of the tools in his toolbox methodically to achieve victories on immigration. Energy is another one. We're going to pass HR 2. We're going to pass energy legislation, but he can also deregulate. He can also incentivize new permits to harvest our own natural resources. I mean, energy is probably the number one spot where he can do it just from the executive branch. But, it just keeps going on and on and on. We're going to unleash the American economy. And honestly, just buckle up. It's going to be a wild ride for the next 2 years.
Yep. On our guest line today, Representative William Timmons from the 4th District of South Carolina. Now, you mentioned the wall. Will we go back to completing the wall that President Trump started in his first term? And as far as the materials, as I understood it, there were millions and millions of dollars worth of material for the wall that Joe Biden pretty much sold for pennies on the dollar. So we're going to have to rebuy that again, I suppose.
Most of the wall pieces that were completed and were available, and Biden just, he left them laying on the ground.
Yeah.
I've got pictures on my phone. I've been on borders 7 times in the last 6 years, and I mean, he didn't sell the wall pieces. They're just lying there. They're about 8, depending on the section. They're about 8 to 10 feet in length, and you just have to stand them up and drop them in. But this is the thing: the wall is only as good as our ability to repel invasions.
Yeah.
And so when people come to the wall, it doesn't take them long. They come in a truck and they have a blowtorch and they cut through it and people run across. And by the time we get there, hundreds of people have crossed through and they just claim asylum and that's it. So a couple things are going to happen. We're going to end catch and release. We're going to restore remain in Mexico. We're going to force Mexico to secure their side of the southern border. And we're going to use technology, whether it's cameras, whether it's drones, whether it's lights. All of these things are going to be used in concert to make sure that when they start cutting through the wall, we have people there and we have drones there.
Yeah.
And we're able to say, we're watching you, we're tracking you, you will be repelled, you will be sent back home.
Yep.
And so that's the kind of thing that we need. And so, but that's just again on the energy, on the immigration side. The energy side is even more exciting because the deregulation, the permit reform, the executive orders he can sign day one will truly unleash American energy. And we will then again become a net exporter of energy. And right there, our national security and also our allies' national security will be drastically enhanced. Yeah. So we're going to harness our natural resources. We're going to start mining lithium. We're going to start mining rare earth minerals that we have in our country that the liberals say we got to protect the environment. The environment is extremely important, and I'm all in on protecting it. But if we don't have our own energy, if we don't have our own production capacity, all else is irrelevant. So we got a lot of stuff we got to do, and we got 2 years to do it, guaranteed 2 years. Obviously, he has a 4-year term, but we can't take anything for granted. We have to get everything done we can in the next 2 years because the midterms, who knows what will happen. Obviously, I'm optimistic, but we can't take it for granted. We got to leave it all on the field.
Yep, understood. Incoming Deputy Chief of Policy Stephen Miller says that Trump 2.0 will act very quickly on, he described it as the greatest tax bill that we've ever seen. Do you have any insight on what that may look like, and what do you think we can do to the tax code to make things a little simpler?
So, I mean, a huge portion of that is going to be extending the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that really facilitated growth. And again, this is all about creating a tax code that makes the U.S. economy the best place to start and to build a business, and most importantly, to compete in the global economy. That's all that this is about. So that's what we're going to be focused on. And it's not just the tax code. It's our energy policy. It's our immigration policy. All of this is connected. It's our healthcare policy. I mean, so it's all connected, and it's all designed to harness American ingenuity to get businesses to invest and to start building things again here in the United States, and to hold our adversaries accountable. We can't have China taking advantage of us. We can't have Iran, Russia, North Korea taking advantage of us. It's just not how. That does not give us a future that is secure. So all of these things are connected, and it's going to be a wild ride.
Yep, and a wild ride that I am looking forward to for sure. Congressman William Timmons, is always a pleasure. Appreciate your time as always, and let's catch up again soon.
Great to be with you. Love to come join again soon.
Sure thing. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Firmin Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Firmin Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Firmin Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Firmin, Matthew Firmin. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Firmin Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Firmin Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Firmin Ford online at firminford.com, firminford.com. One more thing before we move on from the Brian Thompson assassination and the arrest of Luigi Mangione. A bizarre reaction to McDonald's, and particularly the McDonald's locations in Altoona, Pennsylvania, where this young man was arrested yesterday. Online social media activists have started attacking McDonald's for some reason, giving them one-star reviews and scathing comments. Why? I don't know. I mean, the speculation is because a visit to one of these McDonald's reportedly helped authorities track down Mangione, and some people don't like it. I don't know why. The outrage, particularly on sites like Yelp and Google Reviews, has been relentless. Users slam the fast food giant with comments referencing rats, healthcare failures, and betrayal. One user sarcastically wrote, "More like Narc-Donalds. I hope obesity and heart disease are in network in Pennsylvania," they write. The phrase "deny, defend, oppose," which the shooter had scribbled on his casings of the bullets, became a rallying cry for some critics of the health insurance industry. Online posts accused McDonald's of being class traders and joked about the chain being infested with rats and disease. Some reviews have even claimed that the staff falsely accused customers of being CEO assassins. Again, it's the most bizarre thing for a reaction like this. This odd backlash highlights how social media and the outrage on social media can spiral out of control, even when it comes to something as straightforward as simply helping police catch a suspect in a high-profile murder case. These young people at this McDonald's were just doing their jobs. Now they're caught in the crossfire of misplaced anger. It makes no sense. But anyway, interesting development for McDonald's, and I'm sure McDonald's wishes he had never come in their store. Moving on, the latest excuse parade rolling out of the Democrat establishment is starring none other than former President Bill Clinton, and he's out there spinning the latest political woes for the Democrats. And let me tell you, it's something else. This time, Clinton is lamenting that Vice President Kamala Harris was handed an impossible job in her failed run for the presidency. So what's he talking about here? Well, let's break it down. According to Bill, Harris was at a major disadvantage when she stepped in as the Democrat nominee after President Biden dropped out just 3 months before Election Day. Clinton told MSNBC's Joe Scarborough yesterday morning on Morning Joe that Harris couldn't legally access campaign funds, which I'm not completely understanding that because she was able to get Joe Biden's campaign funds. She was the only person. That was the explanation of her being the candidate because no other candidate could have access to them. He also talked about there were no primaries to boost her visibility and that she was essentially a stranger to people. So let's think about this for a minute. First off, Harris had an impossible job. Really? She was the sitting vice president of the United States. She's been in the national spotlight for years now. If she was a stranger to voters, and that was something that they all used as an example, that says more about her and her record or lack thereof than it does about the timing of her candidacy. Clinton's trying to paint this as a logistical problem, but let's be real. The Democrats knew they had a weak candidate on their hands, and the American people saw right through it. We knew who Kamala Harris was. That's why we didn't want to elect her. Clinton went on to say that 54% of voters were open to someone other than Trump, but didn't feel that they knew Harris well enough. Well, again, whose fault is that? This administration had 4 years to present Harris as a viable leader. She had 4 years herself as the border czar, who didn't like to be called border czar, to do something at the southern border, which became the top issue in the campaign, and she failed miserably. They couldn't hide her disastrous policy record. They couldn't hide her poor polling records or her inability to connect with just simple, everyday Americans. And here's the kicker. Bill Clinton says Democrats need to stop playing demographic games and start talking to each other more. You think so, Bill? Maybe the Democrat Party should focus on actual policies. That's right, policies that benefit the American people instead of constantly pandering and dividing Americans into identity groups because that's what they do best. They love demographics. They love identity groups, and they love to try to divide us, even though Joe Biden and Kamala Harris would try to lead people to believe that they wanted to bring us together. They wanted unity. Their actions spoke louder than their words. Remember, this is the same party that sent Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton at times out to the countrysides of America in a last-ditch effort to win voters. And how did that work? Not too good. The problem isn't the farmers. The problem isn't the women, the female voters. The problem isn't the young voters or the Hispanic voters, the Latino voters, the black voters. The problem is the Democrat message. It doesn't resonate with hardworking Americans who are tired of skyrocketing inflation. They're tired of open borders. Borders are Kamala Harris, and out-of-control crime, among many other things. They're tired of going to the grocery store and they can barely afford to buy groceries. They're tired of not being able to go out and take their family out to a nice meal or to the movie or even on vacation. Kamala Harris is tone deaf. Joe Biden was tone deaf and continues to be tone deaf. That's why he, in these last few weeks of his administration, is going on a tear to give away our money to Ukraine, and is traveling to, Angola, to give away $1 billion over there. He has no respect for the hardworking American people, the same people that he claims to come from, the Scranton, Pennsylvania people. Even Scranton, Pennsylvania saw through this one. Now, back to Bill Clinton. In the same breath, he tried to defend Biden's highly controversial pardon of his son, Hunter, by comparing it to his own pardon of his half-brother. Remember that? That's like comparing apples to rotten apples. Clinton argued that Hunter would have faced far stronger adverse consequences than a normal person. Let me translate that for you. Hunter Biden got special treatment because of his last name, period. Clinton even went on to recount how his brother did 14 months in prison and then got a pardon. The difference in this is Clinton's brother took responsibility for what he did. Hunter Biden, on the other hand, has been shielded and protected at every single turn. The American people knew this. They see the double standard, and they're sick of it. That's why Joe Biden is headed back to Delaware, because they're over it. And then finally, Clinton admitted what we've all known, is that Donald Trump's victory was driven by voters who believed in Trump's economic success before COVID-19. Imagine that. People voted for the guy who made their lives better. The economy was booming. Unemployment was at historic lows. Wages were rising. And then, of course, the pandemic hit. And the Democrats tried to blame Trump for everything that went wrong. Joe Biden spent his entire 4 years that he's soon to wrap up blaming Donald Trump for things that were caused by the pandemic. Can you imagine if Joe Biden had been president initially when COVID hit? Can you imagine the chaos that would have taken place? Guess what, though? The voters remembered those good years. They remembered those good years of the Trump administration. They remembered having more money in their pockets, feeling safer at home and abroad. And when the alternative was a floundering Biden administration or an unqualified Kamala Harris, they chose Trump again. Just that simple. Wasn't even a hard decision. Bill Clinton's trying to rewrite history and soften the blow for the Democrats, but it's not going to work. The reality is the Biden-Harris agenda was rejected because it was a complete, utter failure. And Kamala Harris didn't lose because it was an impossible job. She lost because she couldn't convince Americans that she was capable of leading our great nation. Folks, and I take too much joy in this, the Democrats are in disarray. They're scrambling to blame everyone but themselves. But here's the truth. America voted for Donald Trump because we want strong leadership. We want a booming economy. We want secure borders, both southern border and northern border. And we want a return to just common sense. It's just that simple. On our text line, Faye writes, Joey, I'm not sure about Christopher Wray just walking away. He has appeared very confident as he lied between his teeth during these 4 years. I'll have my popcorn waiting to see. Thank you again, Joey, for making all of this tangled web clear. Thank you, Faye. Appreciate your comments. You can always text me. You can always email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Ace writes, Joey, I have a theory about the CEO of UnitedHealthcare. I think it is a hired inside job made to look like a disgruntled client. I believe the assassin is out of the country. He's definitely flying under the radar. Just my 2 cents. Have a great day. Well, Ace, obviously you wrote this before we knew that someone had been apprehended. Now, this young man who was arrested in the McDonald's at Altoona, Pennsylvania, he may not be the one. You could still be right. We have to wait and let justice go through its process. But it's looking pretty much like they may have the right man. If you consider the fact that he looked to be kind of smart there initially, but the way he was able to escape. But if he still had the gun on him, and if it's one that he made, which it says it could have been made by a 3D printer, and he kept the gun, that's not very smart. You always get rid of the murder weapon, don't you? We told you about Joe Biden sending millions more to Ukraine in their effort to spend as much money as they can before Donald Trump takes office next month. So what else does the Biden administration have in mind? Well, they've got a lot that they want to do before they leave Washington. We have some of the ideas that they've been suggesting around. That's coming up next. Whether you're replacing a broken appliance or maybe you're just upgrading, you're totally remodeling the kitchen, when it's time to get those new appliances, when you're ready for them, you don't want to have to wait weeks or even months to get started using them, right? Well, that's not the case when you shop with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse. With over 11,000 square feet and 1,500 appliances at any given time, you can buy today and use today quite often. I'm talking about shopping with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse in Pickens. It's worth the short drive over to Pickens. Jeff, Johnny, Kyle, the whole team over there, they'll take good care of you. They have an award-winning service department, expert installation, extended warranties, and at Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they treat you like family. You're more than just a credit card swipe to all the team over there. Discounted Appliance Warehouse. They're proud to offer Speed Queen, the only washer and dryers with manufacturer's warranties that cover parts and labor. You owe it to yourself if you're looking for a new appliance to head over to Pickens to Discounted Appliance Warehouse online at dawpickens.com, dawpickens.com. We're just weeks away from President-elect Donald Trump's second inauguration and the Biden-Harris administration leaving town. They're in full-blown panic mode, racing against the clock to lock in their progressive policies before Donald Trump can slide back into the driver's seat. We're talking red tape, spending sprees, judicial appointments, you name it, and they're trying to do it in these last days. You know, in most cases like this, the outgoing administration over the Christmas holidays and going into the new year, they're kind of just packing up and closing things down because they know that they're done and a new sheriff is in town. In this case, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, they're trying to wreak as much havoc as they possibly can for Donald Trump to have to deal with in those first days of his new presidency. So let's break this down piece by piece and get into what's really happening here. This isn't just a peaceful transition of power. This is the Biden team literally setting landmines for Trump's incoming administration. They're placing these landmines strategically to try to disrupt the incoming Trump administration. Let's give you some examples here. First up, federal employees are literally circling the wagon. At the end of Trump's first term, he introduced Schedule F, a classification that made it easier to hire and fire federal workers who have too often acted like untouchable bureaucrats. Like, you can't fire me. I'm a career politician. I'm a career bureaucrat. You can't fire me. Well, the Biden administration has scrapped Schedule F as soon as they took office, and now the bureaucrats are lawyering up and unionizing to make it harder for Trump to be able to clean house because they don't want their little party to end. And let me ask you, folks, if these career employees are doing their jobs fairly, with integrity, why are they so worried about being fired? What are they hiding? The deep state is real, and they're doing everything they can to protect their cozy little spots. The Biden administration is fast-tracking a lot of rules and regulations, left and right, especially on energy and the environment. The EPA is handing out billions in grants, fining oil and gas companies for so-called wasteful methane emissions, and setting up red tape that will choke American energy production, because this is one of the sectors that is in the crosshairs of Donald Trump. This is where they're going to be able to do a lot. In my conversation earlier with Congressman William Timmons, I spoke with Congressman Ralph Norman last week. Both of them mentioned the energy sector and what they're going to try to do in the energy industry. Joe Biden bureaucrats, they're trying their best to disrupt this, to do whatever they can to make it harder for Donald Trump to unwind. They're trying to give California a waiver to ban gas-powered vehicles by 2035. That's right, you heard me right. They want to make it as hard as possible for Donald Trump to roll back these environmental straitjackets. And it isn't about saving the planet. It's about crushing American energy independence. Meanwhile, over at the Department of Energy, they're wrapping up a study to slam the brakes on liquefied natural gas exports, giving anti-fossil fuel activists more ammunition to challenge Trump in court. This is sabotage, and they know exactly what they're doing. Let's take the courts, for example. Senate Democrats are working overtime to ram through as many of Joe Biden's judicial nominees as possible. These are lifetime appointments. We all know what it means. More left-leaning judges who will protect the progressive agenda and block Trump's policies at every single turn. Right before the Thanksgiving break, Democrats pushed through 14 more district court judges. They're locking these judges in now because they know that once Trump takes office, the judicial pipeline will shut down for them. They're playing for keeps, folks. They're desperate, and they're doing everything they can. They're on a spending spree, as we talked about earlier. The Biden administration is blowing through every last dollar they can. They're rushing to spend the remaining $46 billion in stimulus funds that Congress allocated during the pandemic. That's money that Trump's administration won't have to use for priorities like securing the border or rebuilding our military. It's a classic spend it or lose it mentality, and the American taxpayers are going to get left holding the bag. This is not what the American people said on November the 5th. They know it. But it's just another example of how tone deaf, or maybe Joe Biden understands the message that we sent on November the 5th and doesn't care. I don't know which it is. What do you think? Text me, email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Finally, Biden is making last-minute foreign policy moves designed to literally box Donald Trump in. What we talked about the other day, the $6.4 billion to Ukraine that they're sending, and canceling $4.65 billion in Ukrainian debt, saying, okay, we loaned you that $4.65 billion. Guess what? You don't have to pay it back. Just keep it. You're good. We're good for now. We're not sure Donald Trump's going to give you anymore, so we're going to let you have that. Don't worry about it. They're even letting Ukraine fire longer-range missiles into Russia, something they refused to do for the past 2 years. It's like they're trying to provoke a bigger war right before Donald Trump takes office. I mean, what are they thinking? And in the Middle East, the Biden team is still pressuring Israel to agree to a ceasefire with Hamas, something that right now Israel is not willing to do. Not the terms that it appears Joe Biden would want them to agree to. Why? Again, they want to tie Trump's hands when he steps into the Oval Office. They want to make it as difficult for him as possible. So, we're talking about, well, President Trump, what are you going to do in the first 100 days? The first 100 days are the key to set the tone for an administration. Joe Biden knows that better than anybody, and he's trying to sabotage that. He's trying to make the first 100 days so distracting and so hard for Donald Trump that he can't accomplish some of the things that he wants to set out to do. Folks, this is what we're all up against. The Biden-Harris team knows their progressive policies were rejected by the American people, and instead of gracefully stepping aside, saying, hey, you won, waving the white flag, they're trying to sabotage Trump's ability to deliver the things that we actually asked for. So I guess the question, is this something new? I mean, did Trump do this to Biden? I don't think so. We did see things like this being done by Obama in 2017 when Trump was taking office. The difference now is Trump and his team are ready. They're going to have plans to hit the ground running on day one, and they're not going to let the deep state or the swamp slow them down. That's the important thing. As Tom Powell from the American Energy Alliance put it, the Biden folks are throwing roadblocks in Trump's path, but guess what? Trump has dealt with those roadblocks before, and he's always found a way to smash through them. Let's hope, and I think he probably will again. The success of Trump's second term is going to depend on how fast he and his team can undo the damage that Joe Biden has caused these past 4 years. The first 100 days, again, it sets the tone for the next 4 years. Can Trump's administration work faster? Can they work smarter than the Biden administration? Can they outsmart the Biden bureaucracy? Who are you going to bet on? I know who I'm going to bet on because I think Donald Trump is ready for it. Joe Biden can make it as hard as he possibly can. It's not going to stop Donald Trump. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com. And I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.